cold wind moved through the wide-open court of the Galactic Council.
Out.
On the center platform stood Elira. Her long white hair touched her shoulders. Her silver suit had marks of battle, but she stood with calm eyes. She was not afraid, only tired. She had lost everything in one day. Her team, her ship, her honor. Now, she would lose her life. Elira came from the planet Nyrol. Her people believed in peace. She was the youngest commander ever chosen, a symbol of hope. But after the battle near the border of Earth space, that hope was gone. The council said she failed to protect her people. They said she let humans attack without warning. But Elira knew the truth was not so simple. The council guards stepped closer. They wore black armor and held long rods that hummed with energy. Elira looked down. Her hands were tied in glowing cuffs. Her heart beat slow and steady. She was ready. Far from the center, among the crowd, a young man pushed through. His name was Jake. He wore a simple Earth uniform, gray with a blue stripe. He looked different from the others. His eyes did not hold hate. He looked worried. Jake was not a soldier. He worked in the Earth's embassy as a translator, but he had studied the battle records. He had watched the files many times. Something had felt wrong. He read messages between Elira and her second-in-command. They did not match the timing of the attack. The truth started to show, but no one listened. When he heard Elira was to be executed, he could not sit still. He took the data chip and walked into the court. Guards tried to stop him, but he slipped through. Now he stood close to the platform. Elira did not see him yet. Her head was low. The elder councilman raised his hand. The sentence will begin. Just then, Jake stepped forward and said, "Heads up." His voice was not loud, but clear. Elira raised her head. Their eyes met. She blinked. For a moment, her breath stopped. Jake lifted the data chip. "I have proof. She was set up." The crowd gasped. Some shouted. The guards turned toward him. One shouted, "Step back." Jake stood still. "I won't. This isn't right." The councilman frowned. "You are out of order. Remove him." Jake looked at Elira. "You know what I say is true?" Elira's voice was soft but strong. "Let him speak." The guards paused. The council members looked at each other. One elder, a man with gray skin and deep eyes, said, "Let us see the chip." Jake handed the chip to a small drone. It flew to the center and plugged into the council's screen. Images appeared. Messages, maps, logs. The room grew silent. Elira watched as her second-in-command gave false orders. She saw the warning signs were blocked. The attack was planned, not by her, but from inside her team. The elder leaned forward. "Why did you bring this?" Jake said. "Because the truth matters. Because she doesn't deserve to die." Elira felt her knees weaken. She had waited for death, but now someone gave her a new chance. The council spoke in quiet voices. The screen went dark. The elder spoke. "We need time. Take her back to her cell." Elira looked at Jake. "Why did you help me?" Jake smiled a little. "Because someone had to." The guards took her away, but her head stayed high now. Something had changed. Not just in the court, but inside her. She was not alone. Jake stayed behind, surrounded by guards. He did not fight. He knew he had done what was right. Far above, the sky of Kareth Prime stayed dark. No? But for Elira, a small light had returned. Elira sat in a quiet cell made of smooth white walls. The energy cuffs were gone, but two guards stood at the door. She looked around the small room. There was no window. The light above was soft and cold. Her mind was full of thoughts. She still could not believe what had happened. The human boy, Jake, had come forward with proof. I'd never met him before, but he risked everything to stop the execution. She didn't understand why. No one had helped her since the day she lost her command, not even her own people. She stood up and walked to the wall. She touched it gently. Her hand shook a little. She remembered the voices of her crew, the last message from her ship, and the explosion that ended it all. Her heart felt heavy. Then she remembered Jake's eyes. They were calm, not full of pride or hate. They were honest. In the council chamber, Jake waited. He stood before the council again. This time he was alone, without guards around him. He placed his hands on the table and spoke clearly. "I know I broke the rules, but I also know the truth matters. I saw the files. Checked them 3 times. Elira was not in control during the attack. Someone changed her orders. Someone wanted her to take the fall. One of the council members, a tall woman with silver eyes, asked, "Why would someone betray their own commander?" Jake replied, "I don't know yet, but I want to find out. Think it's someone who wanted to stop peace talks between humans and the Nihil." Another member, the elder with gray skin, leaned back in his chair, looked tired. "You are asking us to believe a human over our own data." Jake held out the second chip. "This one has the full logs. I pulled it from the embassy records. I didn't change anything." The woman took the chip and placed it into the table. More screens lit up. Messages appeared. Voice clips played. They all pointed to one person, Commander Laris Aliris, second in command. I'd sent fake alerts, blocked messages, and moved the ships without telling her. The room was silent. Lyra was brought back into the chamber. She saw the faces of the council. They looked different now. Not cold, not angry. They looked unsure. The elder spoke. "We have more to discuss." But the sentence is paused. "You are not free, but you are not condemned." Elira looked at Jake. "Thank you," he nodded. "We're not done yet." Later that night, Jake was given a small room near the court. He sat on the bed and looked at the old photo in his pocket. It showed his sister, who had died during the early space wars. He had promised her he would help stop the hate. Maybe today, he had done a little part. There was a knock. A soft voice followed. "May I come in?" Jake opened the door. It was Elira. She stepped inside, looking tired but calm. "I wanted to talk." Jake offered her a seat. She sat slowly. For a while, they said nothing. Then she spoke. "You saw what I could not. Why did you look so deeply?" Jake said. "Because I believed you didn't do it. And because I know how easy it is to blame the other side." Elira looked down. "My people trusted Lyris. He trained me. I never thought he would do this." Jake said he wanted to stop peace. "Maybe he thought war was better." Elira asked, "What happens next?" Jake said, "We show them everything. We find more proof if we can." She looked up at him. "Will you help me?" Jake smiled. "Yes." They stood together in that small room. It's 2 people from different worlds, trying to fix what was broken. The night was quiet, but their minds were full of plans. Outside, in the high skies of Kareth Prime, ships moved slowly through the stars. Somewhere the traitor was still free. But now, Elira was not alone. And Jake had found something worth fighting for. In the dark, a message was sent from a hidden ship. Voice whispered, "They know too much. It's time to finish what we started." The danger had not passed. It only begun. Elira walked through the long hallway of the council building. Her steps were slow but strong. She no longer wore cuffs. Her clothes were clean, and her head was high. She passed by guards and council workers. Some looked at her with surprise. Others looked away. She didn't stop. She had something to do. Jake waited at the end of the hallway. He held a small bag in one hand. He smiled when he saw her. She gave a small nod. "Are you ready?" he asked. "I am," she said. They walked together to a locked door. A council worker opened it. Inside was a room full of data screens and old records. The lights were dim and dust floated in the air. It was not used often. Elira walked to the largest screen. Jake plugged in a device. A set of files appeared. Messages, logs, orders, ship paths, all from the last battle. "This is where we find the rest," Jake said. They worked side by side for hours. They read every message and compared timelines. Elira found a strange pattern. Some files had missing parts. Some names were changed. She tapped one file. "This was sent from my ship," she said, "but I never saw it." Jake looked closer. The signal was changed mid-flight. Someone wanted to hide it. They followed the path of the signal. It led to a ship not listed in the battle records. A silent craft that moved between both fleets but never joined the fight. The code name was Dark Echo. "That ship doesn't belong to your side or mine," Jake said. It was in the shadows. Elira narrowed her eyes. "That's the hand behind all of this." Jake made a copy of the data. "That they had to move fast?" "If someone found them, the files could be deleted or worse." Suddenly, the room lights blinked. Then the door behind them slammed shut. "They know we're here," Jake said. Elira grabbed the device. "There's another way out. Follow me." She led him to a side tunnel once used for storage. It was narrow and dark. They moved fast, hearing footsteps behind them. Someone had sent guards. They ran down the passage, turned a corner, and entered a chamber filled with old tech. Jake pushed a shelf to block the door. "That won't hold long," he said. Lyra found a wall panel and opened it. Behind it was a small lift. "It's just big enough for two." "Get in," she said. They closed the panel as the door burst open. The lift moved down, slow but steady. They held their breath, and the lift stopped. They stepped into an old control room below the council building. It had not been used in years, but the screen still worked. Elira looked at Jake. "We take this to the council," Jake said. "Not yet. First, we show it to someone who will listen." He sent a message to a young council member named Nira. She was known to be fair and bold. 10 minutes later, she arrived alone and quiet. Jake showed her the files. Elira explained what they found. Nira said nothing at first. Then she said, "This changes everything." Elira said, "Will you help us?" Nira nodded. "Yes, but be careful. Whoever did this is watching." That night, Nira spoke in a closed council meeting. She shared the new data. Some members were shocked, some were angry.
Out.
One councilman stood and left the room. He walked fast and didn't look back. Jake and Elira watched from a screen in the hidden room. Jake pointed. "That's him. The one who sent the message from the hidden ship," Elira said. "He's part of it. He worked with Lyris." They knew time was running out. The traitors would not wait. It would strike soon. But now Elira and Jake had names, proof, and someone inside the council who believed them. In the shadows of ⅒ the truth had started to rise. But with truth came danger. The quiet war had begun. Elira looked at Jake and said, "We can't stop now." Jake replied, "We won't." Dark clouds moved across the sky of ⅒. The city lights below were dim, inside a secret room beneath the council building. Elira and Jake were planning their next step. Nira had promised to help, but the danger had grown. The traitors now knew they were close to the truth. Jake looked at the screen. "We have enough to show the council. They won't listen if we just walk in." Elira nodded. "We need more. Something they cannot deny." Nira entered the room, her face pale. "Lyris is gone. He left the city 2 hours ago in a fast ship. He knew he was exposed." Jake said, "Then we go after him." Nira shook her head. "He's heading to the outer sector. That's no man's land. We won't have protection out there." Elira stepped forward. "That's where the hidden ship is. The Dark Echo. If we find it, we find the full truth." Jake and Elira left that night in a small scout ship. It was fast and quiet. Nira gave them clearance codes and a contact who could help in the outer sector. The journey took hours. Stars passed by as they flew through deep space. Jake sat in the pilot seat. "You ever think we'd be doing this together?" Elira looked out the window. "No, but I'm glad we are." They reached the edge of the sector. Space there was cold and empty. Signals were weak. Then Elira saw it. A dark shape floating near a broken moon. "There," she said. "That's the Dark Echo." The ship looked like a shadow. Its lights were off. No signs of life. They landed on its outer deck and moved inside. The halls were silent. Dust floated in the air. The ship felt dead. Jake turned on a small light. "Let's find the control room." They walked slowly, checking every door. After minutes of searching, they reached the bridge. Elira pressed the main switch. The lights flickered. Then the screens lit up. She searched the files. Here, messages between Lyris and someone on the council. Codes, orders, plans to turn my people against the humans. Jake downloaded the data. "This is it. This ends it." Then they heard a sound. A soft footstep. Then another. Jake pulled out his tool. "We're not alone." A voice came from the shadows. It should not have come. It was Lyris. He stepped into the light. His face was calm, but his eyes were cold. "You always trusted the wrong ones," he said to Elira. "Now you trust a human." Elira said, "You betrayed us. You started a war to stop peace." Lyra smiled. "Peace is weakness. Order is strength." Jake said, "You're finished. We have the proof." Lyris moved fast. He fired a pulse shot. Jake jumped aside. Elira took cover. The shot hit the wall, burning it. Jake fired back, hitting Lyris in the arm. He dropped his weapon and fell. Elira stepped forward. It's over. Lyris looked up, holding his wound. You have no idea what's coming. I'm just the start. Jake tied his hands. We'll take him back. The council will decide. They left the dark echo with the data and Lyris. The ship flew quietly back to Careth Prime. No words were spoken for a while. Back in the council hall, Nira met them. Guards took Lyris away. Lyra handed the data to the elders. They played it on the main screen. Every secret was shown. Whispers filled the room. Some stood, some sat in silence. The elder with gray skin spoke. This truth will not be hidden, Elira said. Many trusted him. I did too. But now I choose to trust better. The council voted. Lyris was stripped of his rank. The war plan was cancelled. Talks for peace would begin again. Jake and Elira stood outside the chamber. The sun was rising over the city. Do you think they'll really change? Jake asked. Elira said, not all, but enough. And for the first time in many days, the sky felt brighter. The council building stood quiet after the long night. Smoke still rose from the broken walls, and workers cleaned the floors. The sun touched the tall towers of Careth Prime. People walked slowly, tired but calm. For the first time in weeks, the city felt at peace. Elira stood on a high balcony. Her white suit was clean. A new mark on her shoulder showed her command had returned. She watched the city below, her eyes full of thought. Behind her, Jake stepped into the light. How are you feeling? He asked. Like someone gave me a second life, Elira said. Jake smiled. You earned it. They looked out together. Far in the sky, ships moved in slow lines. Some were human, others from council worlds. They flew side by side. Elira said, not long ago, they were ready to shoot at each other. And now, they share flight paths, Jake said. That's something. Later that day, the council held a new session. This one was open to all. People filled the great hall. No one shouted, no one argued. They came to listen. Nira stood at the front. Her voice was calm. Today we speak not of war, but of truth. Lies almost broke us. Fear almost killed us. But courage stopped it. She looked at Elira and Jake. Two voices changed everything. One from our world, one from Earth. The hall clapped softly. Elira stepped forward. I once thought silence was strength. I thought obeying orders without question was loyalty. I was wrong. She looked across the hall. Loyalty means standing up when it's hard, speaking when others are quiet. It took a human to remind me that. Jake joined her. He held up a small crystal. This holds the last of the data, he said, but it also holds something more. A new way, a path forward. The council agreed to create a joint force, a group made of different species, trained not to fight, but to protect peace. Elira was chosen to lead it. She walked through the training grounds weeks later. Now soldiers trained together. They learned each other's ways. They listened more. They smiled more. Jake worked as a guide and teacher. He helped translate, helped people understand each other. He never wore a commander's badge. He didn't need one. One evening, he found Elira sitting on the roof of the academy. She was watching the stars. I still can't believe how close we came to war, she said. Jake sat beside her. Maybe that's what makes peace so special. It almost didn't happen. They sat in silence for a while. Then Elira said, I'm glad you whispered that day. Jake laughed softly. It was the only thing I could think of. It worked, she said. In another part of the galaxy, ships carried messages of the new alliance. Planets that once stayed silent now spoke with hope. Walls came down, bridges were built. Not all were ready. Some still feared. Some still wanted power. But the change had begun. Elira stood before her new team one morning. She looked at each face, human, Neural, and many others. Different, but now together. We don't fight for one world, she said. We fight to protect them all. The team stood tall. The sun rose behind them. Far from the academy, An old ship drifted in space. On board, a single message blinked. It was from someone unknown. It said, "You delayed us, but we are not finished." Jake read it later that night, showed it to Elira. "They're still out there," he said. "Then we stay ready," she replied. But neither looked afraid. They had faced worse. Now they had each other. Now they had a team. The stars above were quiet, but the future was not written yet. Elira turned to Jake, heads up. He smiled, always. And together, they stepped into the new day, ready for whatever came next.